Welcome, friends, to the Ink to Film podcast, where we read the book and then see the movie. I'm writer Luke Elliott.
And I'm filmmaker James Bailey.
And we are off again this week. James is still gallivanting on his honeymoon, so we're going to be releasing this former Patreon exclusive into the main feed, and that is going to be for Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which was directed by Kenneth Branagh, and is quite a wild film that I remember having a good time talking about. We thought this would be a fun one to release right here near Halloween for everybody.
This is a fun one. Robert De Niro is in it, and I won't tell you who he is, but you can probably guess. And it's fun. It's Kenneth Branagh kind of just getting to make this wild movie.
Zany.
He is the Doctor, so he is quite an interesting role here.
Yeah.
Maybe a little sexy for Victor Frankenstein, but he does it. He does his thing.
We got another Frankenstein coming out soon. It might already be out by the time you're hearing this. Del Toro's Frankenstein that we would love to talk about it somewhere down the line. So we want to go ahead and get this one out, and it can kind of be part of our coverage of Frankenstein. And it's definitely an interesting, moment in the history of adaptation of this iconic story. Definitely very cool. Hopefully you're all having a great holiday, and everybody's having a good time, getting out, getting some partying in, dressing up, all of the above. It's one of my favorite times of year and my favorite holidays. So I always enjoy this time.
Yeah, best time of the year, no question. It's awesome. We get a nice swing right into the fall period, into the winter period. So a lot of holidays coming up, time with family. I would absolutely love to do that Guillermo del Toro Frankenstein. I haven't watched the trailer. I'm so excited for it. I'm hearing great things. I think we will at some point get to that.
I didn't tell you, but I got tickets to the, what is it, like 35 millimeter, 60, I don't know, some special format.
Cool,
I got tickets for. I just can't remember exactly what it is.
Yeah, projected. That's awesome.
Looking forward to that. We'll talk about that more down the line. But until later, this is going to be a former Patreon exclusive, unlocked into the main feed. Hopefully you all enjoy.
We are doing Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the 1994 Kenneth Branagh film. And it's not our first Kenneth Branagh directed film.
That's right. Murder on the Orient Express was him?
Correct, yes.
And then did he direct one of the Harry Potter films, or he was just a star in it?
No, he starred in one, but he did direct that first Thor movie that came out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Gilderoy Lockhart's in this movie. Bellatrix Lestrange is in this movie.
She sure is, yeah.
Bilbo's in this movie. Bilbo Baggins. Interesting cast, and I hadn't seen this. Had you?
No, I had not seen it. This is my first time.
You know what? There's a part of me that enjoyed this film, and then there's a part of me that was like, this is kind of a mess.
I went into this movie expecting not to like it. I was like, this is gonna be.
Had you heard that it wasn't good, or? I
just seen like clips of it. Like Kenneth Branagh, for me, like I've always been kind of mixed on his films. I don't know. It looked kind of ridiculous, and just kind of over the top. And I was like, I don't know about this. Usually that's not my kind of my bag. And at first that was kind of my reaction to the movie as I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, this is kind of insane. Like, oh no, this is like really, really insane. Oh yeah, this is so over the top. Look at this. Everybody's overacting. Everything's so dramatic. Everything's so like gothic and over the top. And at some point in this like first act, when they're I think when they start doing the surgeries and he's learning about the bodies, and I kind of like clicked with the movie and like realized that like all of this is intentional. Like this is the movie that Kenneth Branagh is making. His Victor Frankenstein, where he's so dramatic and like melodramatic, and the way he looks like this romance hero, he's like running around with his shirt off later in the laboratory scene. And
I just want to note, like, obviously he also directed this. So for him to be running around shirtless like that too is like so like self-indulgent in a way. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And like, so once I clicked into like that's what this movie is, that's the appeal of it. And also I think watching it in October, like when I'm in that like Halloween spirit, this felt like a great Halloween movie. I was like, oh man, this is like the perfect, like it's got all of the like lightning and the just over the top, visuals and sequences. And Even in all this overacting and this, like, every single person is chewing the scenery in every single moment of this movie, and I couldn't believe it. They could sustain it. As just like, everything is so over. Like Ian Holm is like running down the stairs covered in blood, and just like everything is so big and huge, and I just was watching it with a smile on my face and going like, I really like this movie. I don't know. I thought it was really cool, and I haven't seen many things like it that just embraced the sort of campiness of it, the wildness of the story, because we should say this story is a lot more faithful. It's not 100%, but it's a lot more faithful to the original novel. And that story is just kind of over the top and insane. So I think Kenneth Branagh recognized, like, if I'm going to do this thing at least somewhat faithfully, it has to be kind of silly. I don't know, man. It's got heart too. It doesn't not have heart, but it's wild.
Expectations are an interesting thing because the only thing that I really knew is that Francis Ford Coppola produced this, and this is coming off the heels of Bram Stoker's Dracula. So we're getting Mary Shelley's Frankenstein after Bram Stoker.
Okay.
And so I was like, I knew there was some connection there, and that's all I knew. So going in, I was expecting like just a high level of filmmaking, and I thought that, you know, De Niro got involved, so that's got to count.
I mean,
for
the
something.
cast is insane.
Yeah, cast
so
is
many
insane.
Huge actors, like, yeah.
Then I started the movie and I was like, oh, this is like a stage play, like pumped up to
Very
11
theatrical.
dramatics, very theatrical. How I'll talk about this movie is I enjoyed watching the film. Do I think that that is a great film? I don't know. That's, I think, debatable, but I think that I had a good time. Like you said, maybe it has something to do with October. I also feel like really steeped in the Frankenstein lore. So getting to see like the Arctic mission at the beginning, and like how the framework all comes
it's like stuff
in.
that always gets cut out of adaptations of Frankenstein.
Yeah. There was some element of obviously like really trying to go Victorian with it and like have all of the architecture and the dress and all of that going on. And then 40-ish minutes into the movie, I got De Niro's Frankenstein, or Frankenstein's monster, the creature here. It was so uncanny for me. It was hard for me to like crest that hill of like not seeing him as like some New York gangster, like mafioso.
Every now
guy.
and then the New York like kind of accent comes out a little bit.
Yeah, and it just throws me. Granted, I think he did a decent job with it. It was just a little strange. And then that's kind of the movie as a whole. It's fairly strange. Kenneth Branagh, like I said, there's like maybe some self-indulgent stuff going on here. But when I was then I started comparing it to the original source material, and I was thinking like, I enjoyed that story for the fact that like she's defining a genre, Mary Shelley is, and she's like creating this something that no one had ever seen before. And like there's like I think just based on the time period that it was written, there's like a certain subtlety to it, at least from my modern perspective. And this story is not that.
No, it's not that at all.
So it's like over dramatic, crazy, and honestly, the visuals are really cool. I love those shots of like walking up the staircase with the shadow.
Yeah, and that was, I think, one of the moments. I mean, it sounds silly because it's not a super important moment, but the design of the interior of that mansion and the way the stairs looked, it was not trying to be realistic. This didn't look like a real building.
Right. There's no
as soon as I
handrail.
saw that, I was like, okay, so this is like a stage play. This looked like it was a set on a stage.
Genuinely, I went to go see like a musical of Dracula, and they had like a staircase kind of thing with no handrail, which does kind of, and it's like stone concrete stairs and like a stark wall across the way. Anyway, it evoked that to me as well. So yeah, to see Kenneth Branagh fairly early in his directing career come in and direct a movie
He
that
looked
was
like he was having so much fun. in this
yes,
role.
and that is what I was going to come back to is when we covered Murder on the Orient Express, I made sure to say like he's making sure that all of the actors are comfortable, having a good time. These massive casts, like it's not like a difficult set to be on, I assume, and they're all kind of getting to show their chops. Like that was kind of what I felt in Murder on the Orient Express as well, where it's like he doesn't feel like there's any small parts. There's no small parts, right? Like famous industry term, where like he's like you can be as eccentric and crazy as you want, even though you have 2 lines in the film. And I think like that's all the characters all the way across the board. And it makes for interesting, I guess, and unique filmmaking. I know like the critics of the time felt like this was pretty middling in terms of a Frankenstein adaptation, because I do think there's a certain prestige with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, the original novel.
It's a strange ass movie. Like I it's so funny because like I really thought I would come on here a lot more mixed than I ended up feeling by the end. I genuinely kind of love this movie. And by the end of it, I was like, I want to show people this movie. I want to play this movie for people. Like, the scenes are laugh out loud funny sometimes. Like, the moment, we're spoiling everything here, but the moment where the monster just rips the heart out of Elizabeth with his bare hands. There's just moments of these extreme violence and just like bloody. Oh man, the whole sequence in the lab where he's like riding the fucking coffin around and there's lightning and there's eels in a big sack that come flying out of a chute. It's so insane. I don't know. I love it.
It's in some ways calling back to other past Frankenstein stories, and in other ways it's doing an entirely new, crazy over the top thing.
I just had so much fun with this movie. Like, I don't know that I agree. I don't know that it's a great movie, but I had so much fun with it that I'm like, how did I not know about this? And this is such a perfect Halloween movie too. I don't know. It's like it's exactly what I would want from like a just over the top Halloween movie you could throw on.
Totally, it feels in the same vein of like a Sleepy Hollow or something like that.
Dude, double feature Sleepy Hollow and this movie would be sick.
The way that a film doesn't have to be like good, like great even to be enjoyable to watch, I think is something that like as people watch more and more movies, they start to realize that is like. I fully enjoyed myself. It had my attention the entire way through. I was just like, what are they going to do next? How are they going to interpret the work?
At a breakneck pace is the one thing. And like, that's both good and bad, I guess. Like it kind of, ultimately, I think it works because you don't get time to get bored of anything because we're on to the next thing. Like they mention something and then like, it's like, immediately, we're in the next scene, like, oh, we're gonna get married, now we're at the wedding night, now we're getting, it's like everything happens so fast because we're flying through the plot of the novel, which obviously takes a lot longer. This could have been like a mini series. I think there's certainly enough material in the book, but instead they cram it all into 2 hours. But for once, it kind of works for the tone and the mood of this movie, that everything flies.
Yeah, I can't wait to dig into some of the behind the scenes stuff with this because I think it's cool that in 2024, you and I can be on a podcast talking about a movie that neither of us had seen, that has a great cast, has really interesting just like design in general for the film and an interesting like feel. Well,
and shout out to Laura from Why the Book Wins, because she's been trying to get us to watch this movie for a while. And she loves this movie. She absolutely loves this version of Frankenstein. So, and I know that's like a novel that she has a lot of fondness for. So I'm glad that I finally got to watch it. I was a little concerned when I was going in. I'm like, what if I don't like it? I'm going to feel bad. But I genuinely enjoyed this movie. So
yeah. So I said all that to say, again, people of the time did not respond super well to this movie. Originally,
I can see it, man. It's a weird movie, so I can see critics being like, "What? Like, what is this?"
Yeah. Originally, Francis Ford Coppola was going to direct it because he was going to do it as a companion to Bram Stoker's Dracula. He's going to do this Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Branagh comes on. They start having some disagreements, and eventually get to the point where Francis Ford Coppola disavows this film. He's like, I'm removing myself from it in every way possible. Like, I don't agree with what's going on here. I have a bunch of stuff here that I'll read about it. Also, Frank Darabont did a rewrite. There's an original script written by Steph Lady.
Gosh, the names attached to this movie.
Yeah, and she sold it to Francis Ford Coppola's American Zoetrope. And then eventually down the line, Frank Darabont writes the second draft, which then Kenneth Branagh gets a hold of, does some small rewrites, and then that's the film that comes out. Now, both screenwriters hated it, and Francis Ford Coppola hated this movie. Let's read some quotes here. Steph Lady said, "The film was a shocking disappointment, a misshapen monster born of Kenneth Branagh's runaway ego. He took a poignant, thought-provoking tragedy and turned it into a heavy metal monster movie. The casting of Robert De Niro as the monster was beyond inexplicable." Hey, a heavy metal monster movie with Robert De Niro as an inexplicable monster, pretty freaking fun.
I guess the question is, like, what was he going for? Because I do feel like that's the movie he wanted to make, and that's the movie we got.
Which is probably where all these disagreements come into play, right? Like they very
they
clearly
wanted a more faithful adaptation in mood and feeling, and
understated, sort of subtle,
like gothic beauty. Like there's a real beauty to that book, and then you want to like convey that, like I get it, and that's not what this movie is.
Frank Darabont, who did the second draft, later called the film, quote, "the best script I ever wrote and the worst movie I've ever seen." There's a weird doppelganger effect when I watch the movie. It's kind of like the movie I wrote, but not at all like the movie I wrote. It has no patience for subtlety. It has no patience for quiet moments. It has no patience for period. It's big and loud and blunt and rephrased by the director at every possible turn. Cumulatively, the effect was a totally different movie. I don't know why Branagh needed to make this big, loud film. The material was subtle. Shelley's book was way out there in a lot of ways, but also very subtle. I don't know why it had to be this operatic attempt at filmmaking. Shelley's book is not operatic. It whispers at you a lot. The movie was a bad one. That was my Waterloo. That's where I got my ass kicked most as a screenwriter. Branagh really took the brunt of the blame for that film, which was appropriate. That movie was his vision entirely. If you love that movie, you can throw all your roses at Ken Branagh's feet. If you hated it, throw your spears there too, because that was his movie. So are we throwing spears or are we throwing roses?
I'm throwing roses, man. And I get where he's coming from, and I understand that if you're writing an adaptation and you think that's what you're writing, then I can see being very frustrated with this movie.
It doesn't help that it was also like universally panned. Like everyone kind of jumped on board to say this movie sucks. And I think maybe it was just kind of a little bit ahead of its time. It's like not a reach to say that these days. Like everybody says something's ahead of its time, but like I don't know if it feels like a modern movie as much as it feels like a big swing in the 90s when people just weren't ready for it.
It's really hard to know, right? Because I'm viewing it as this like self-aware thing. And I'm loving it as like a commentary on film. Like we're gonna do this in this way because it's fun, and like this story is classic, and yet we all kids dress up as Frankenstein for Halloween, so like we're gonna lean into the Halloween nature of it, and it's so wild. But like it sounds like a lot of people, and maybe there is some truth to this, are looking at it going like, this isn't what we all signed on for. Kenneth Branagh just like went rogue with it, decided to make this version of a movie. And if that's not what you're looking for in a Frankenstein adaptation, I can see really not liking it.
He's trying to do something new with a character that is really well defined. And I think that there's something to that, right? And I think it's strange that like people don't talk about this movie more. Maybe it's time for a reanalysis on it, because I do think that it has a lot of merits and interesting performances. I do think the movie's a little crammed, like you said, a little fast in terms of like what it goes through.
Yeah,
and that's probably where a bit of the subtlety is lost.
I don't think it should be regarded as some great movie, but I think we should have more fondness for it. I don't know. This feels like a movie that deserves to have a cult following, and like so I can still like the movie if Branagh is genuinely putting on these performances and thinking like, this is good stuff. I'm going to win an Oscar for this performance. Look at me. Look at all this, pathos I'm showing on screen. And like, if he's doing that and then this is the movie we get, I can still love it just as like an act of just like huge hubris, which is funny considering the subject matter at hand. If that's what this is, then that's kind of hilarious and special in its own right. I was granting the benefit of the doubt and saying like he knows that this is way over the top and that this isn't actually good in that way. It's good in a different way, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like it's good in that it's kind of silly, and like I felt like he knew that, but maybe he didn't. I don't know.
Maybe that's part of it. Maybe these people were close to him and could tell that he wasn't in on it.
That's wild if so. If he actually thought like he's making some brilliant piece of art that is like gonna be up for Oscars or something.
I like Kenneth Branagh. I like some of his performance. I think he's, to be honest, a better actor than he is director. Maybe that's throwing shade where it shouldn't be, but I also see that he does seek out awards. I think that he wants to be decorated. He has been knighted. He has Academy Awards, BAFTAs, Emmys, Golden Globes. Like he's well decorated if that's what you're interested in terms of your career. And don't get me, like Belfast is a film that he had that came out. That's a genuinely great movie. And it's kind of like autobiographical. it's a good movie. And so to me, I think that there are times that he wants to prioritize like getting a lot of really talented people together and just having fun and making something.
This felt more in line with Murder on the Orient Express, but it's like there was something about this movie that clicked because it was so over the top that I didn't get from Murder on the Orient Express, where it felt like it doesn't go far enough. It was like, it's all the envelope pushing scenes in this movie where we're pushing the gore and we're pushing you don't think they're going to go there, but they do. I mean, I think there's no better example than the lab scene where the monster's first being created. It's so insane. I can scarcely believe that it was made as I'm watching it.
I love that there's like an extended sequence of them just like slipping around in this.
Oh my god! Yeah, the slimy wrestling sequence where he's just like, that's where I was like, they have to know. It goes on for so long, and it's just like
so dramatic.
They're just slipping and sliding and like wrestling, and it's like, it's so bizarre. And I'm just laughing, and I'm like, this has to be the point of this, right? Like, we're supposed to be laughing at this, and like, again, I can still love it if that wasn't the point, but I love it in a different way. I was assuming this was all intentional, and maybe that's not true, but I was assuming, oh yeah, he wants us laughing here. He wants us just having fun in a theater, you know, or at home, as I am now watching it. Like, I just thought he wanted to have fun.
I did see that somewhere that like Coppola wanted like the first 30 minutes cut because it's just like there's a lot of buildup. I think he felt before we get into the creature stuff.
So you wanted to cut the frame, probably. the whole northern expedition, which
probably right
often gets cut. But I think I really love that is in this movie because it's such a weird part of the book that you don't expect when you go to read it. You know, like, if you've never read Frankenstein before, you're like, what is this? You know, it's very strange.
To speak about the creature is what they call it, the monster, however you want to refer to him. What do you think about De Niro as this creature?
I mean, I thought the look was really interesting because it's really grotesque. I love that he's got like bleeding raw cuts at first, you know, really kind of horrific. He's, you know, I think they did a pretty good job of making him sort of imposing, even though they didn't really go for that whole 8-foot tall, you know, tower of a creature that is described in the book. And, you know, Robert De Niro is a good enough actor to where, like, I think he does pretty well with this. He's mostly kind of grunting and not saying a lot early on. But we get the whole sequence where he's, like, living outside the hut, which, like, is so cool that that's actually in this movie, and slowly learning. And I don't know, I mostly liked it. I agree that there were times where, like, he sounded a little too much like Robert De Niro and not enough like this character he's playing. But it was pretty rare. Most of the time, I thought it actually was pretty spot on. So I was happy with it. You know, it's again, it's in line with everything else of this movie. Every single line is delivered at 110%. Everything's so dramatic.
I think De Niro is one of our greatest living actors. Like, I think he genuinely has had some of the greatest performances ever. There's just mannerisms about De Niro and the way he looks at people disapprovingly at times. And just like, it was uncanny for me at times. There's just that uncanny valley where I was like, I can't separate the two. But I think, like you said, the stuff with the hut and like him actually like, we need 20 people to farm this potatoes or whatever they're farming. And then it's all done in the morning. Yeah. I think all that stuff is well done. What I thought was just baffling was as we get closer to the end of the movie, Frankenstein or the monster, the creature here, is much more evil than I ever remember him becoming in either story. And I think that's maybe the legend as it's gone on, is like kids that don't engage with the material or anything like that. Because, you know, as a kid growing up, I would see the mask at Halloween and I would be like, oh, monster. But I think that like that heart of that innocent Frankenstein's creature monster here is like weirdly lost somewhere around the end. It's not my favorite De Niro performance is how I want to land with it. I going in, I'm like, oh, De Niro is going to be the reason to see this movie. After watching it, I'm like, oh, maybe a little, but it's an interesting departure for him, but more strange.
Yeah, very strange. So I went back and read the plot of the book because I wanted to see. It's been a while, you know, since we covered it, and also we talk about this all the time, how like once we're on to the next thing, sometimes the previous thing we covered just falls out of our brains. And I feel that way a little bit with Frankenstein, where I'm like, wait, did this happen in the book? I don't know. So I went and read, and then that reminds me, I'm like, okay, So a lot of what I think is kind of seen as evil here is from the book. He does kill the child. He does frame Justine, who ends up being hung for it. But we do lose a scene. So he gets run out of the shack. But then there's a scene where he like saves a child from drowning, and then the father of the child shoots him with a gun. And he has to flee that. And like he has all this internal strife where he turns on humanity. And in the movie, the movie, because it flies through everything so fast, we just get this one moment where he's like having this like somewhat nice connection with the blind grandfather. And then he gets hit with the stick. He comes running out, and then like he's murdering a kid, like in like the next scene. It seems like it goes from 0 to 100. Like all of a sudden he's full on evil now. Whereas I think there's more of a descent, and even in the book it says that like the kid starts shouting about who his father is and like saying he's going to get in trouble and all this stuff, and then it's only after he realizes that that Victor Frankenstein is connected to this kid that he decides to kill him, to punish Victor. But clearly it is a sign of him losing touch and like becoming more monstrous, but you could argue being driven there by the rejection of society and how people won't bring him in. There's a lot of subtlety there, as is talked about, that is completely gone from this movie. But that's not really what we're trying to tell with this version of the story. It's more just like the broad beats of it. And it was kind of cool to see this version of Frankenstein, because I think a lot of the other ones also play in more to that like human side of it, where you feel more sympathy for the monster. Whereas here we see him do some pretty horrific things. And like the night with Elizabeth is an example. Now in the book, he just strangles her, but they decided to turn that instead to punching his fist into her chest and ripping out her still beating heart to show it to Victor. Because that's how this movie goes, which is very insane. But then we get into the whole sequence with Elizabeth being the bride potentially being resurrected, and that's a departure from the book too. We can get into, but yeah, like I felt like a lot of that evilness of the monster was kind of cool to see, because the actions were more in line with what happens in the book, and I feel like often we don't see that.
I think cool as a version of the film for sure, but I definitely think like such a strong through line of Mary Shelley's original work is the fact that an innocent creature that didn't ask to be created was shunned by society and then became the monster that they wanted him to be. And so like something about like there's a beat that you lose there that I think maybe this was in the creature all along. He was a thief, and he was the parts of a thief and this and that and all these things put together. So maybe it was inherently there.
I feel like the movie could have benefited from another 30 minutes. Just another 30 minutes when we show a little bit more
storytelling wise, maybe not pacing wise.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the trade-off, right? Like you lose some of that pacing, but if you want to achieve a little bit more of that journey for the monster, I don't know. And like, who knows if a version of that existed? Maybe even 15. Another 15 minutes where we show that scene where he tries to save the child and gets turned on again. Like, I don't know, but this movie is not subtle, and like, do you need it for the movie that this is? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. But I guess my point was people reacting to the original material are gonna feel, a certain way about it.
And because it's called Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, it's kind of like announcing this is very faithful, and like it is to up to a point, and then it's not in a lot of other ways too.
I also love, as the writer in the group here, you being like. Francis Ford Coppola was like, cut 30 minutes, and you're like, add 15, man. You're like, we can go a little longer here.
Yeah,
tell
exactly.
More story.
Well, if you're gonna cut it, then you can't complain when something isn't, jumps from A to C. Yeah, you cut B out. That's the problem. So yeah, Bonham Carter playing Elizabeth here. She's awesome, in every movie. I feel like she's great, and I kept thinking this is such a strange role for her, because she's kind of a damsel. She has these just like so silly, like their interactions with Branagh, like running across the room together, and the music swells, and they just start like sloppily kissing each other, and it's so ridiculous. There's so many moments like that where I'm like, what is going on with this? But it all pays off when we get to see her as the woman creature, and she's got the makeup on, and she's got the hair and the blood, and like that was fucking cool as hell. Like I love seeing that.
And that's why Helena Bonham Carter is in this movie, right?
Yeah,
you're like,
I'm like,
she's not
exactly.
signing
I was
up
like,
for,
this is why she did this.
She's not signing up for part A without the part B that is the reveal at the end.
And
she
this
gets
is
to
a
get,
big departure from the book. So in the book, he makes a female creature, but he never finishes her. When he starts to see like what he's making, he destroys it because he's like, I can't finish this. And he destroys it, and the creature sees this and gets mad at him, and they have the fight or whatever. And it's kind of similar in that sense, but never actually like imbues the woman with life, from what I remember and what I was reading. Here instead, it's literally Elizabeth's head that has been put on Justine's body, but then also just like other random cuts and transmogs happening for some reason. But the result is this horrific version of Elizabeth, and there's this push and pull between the two of them where it's like, come to me, no, say my name, come to me, and they're trying to fight over her, and she self-immolates because she's like, fuck you both, I'm not going to be controlled by either of you, I'm just going to burn myself with this lamp. And then we get this run through the hallway, which is like one of the more insane fire stunts I've ever seen, because that's a person.
And yeah, horror films often have like what was the other one that we watched with this? Was it the original Thing from Another World?
The Thing from Another World. Yeah.
Yeah. So those crazy fire stunts where they go on for so long, and this one was definitely in keeping with that.
There was so much fire.
Oh yeah,
that looked insanely dangerous to me. I can hardly believe that a person actually did that stunt.
Well, I have to assume that it was, of course, not the single take. Like, there's so many takes in there that they're cutting between.
Yeah, but still, there's a moment where it's a person on fire running down a flaming hallway and bouncing off the walls, and it all looks real to me. This is like 94 or something too, so like graphics were not good enough to where like you wouldn't be able to tell. If those were graphical fires, we would have been able to tell. But no, it was just fire. And like,
you've seen like stuntmen, what they do. I assume technology obviously jumped in a major way since The Thing from Another World to 94. But like they wear like a suit, and then they cover themselves in this flammable like oil or flammable like grease almost, and it creates an insulation layer. To where they can actually burn for quite a while,
but they can't breathe basically while they're doing it.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they'll breathe in flame if they do that, and they have to act, and it's hot as shit. Like they still get super hot, and they have to do whatever it is they're supposed to do in the scene, and then they have to get immediately doused and put out at the end of a scene. And people do sometimes get seriously injured doing this stuff, and like this just seemed like an absolutely wild one to me.
I think it's a credit to the stunt team, obviously. Like it's like the fact that it's standing out and it's so in keeping with the rest of the film is like the biggest like possible fire stunt they could do. They pulled off, and I think it's cool. It's effective. I do think the beat for the monster to destroy before creating is different than creating and then the creature destroying itself. So obviously that's like a change there as well in motivations and things like that.
It made Elizabeth's role a lot cooler. I will say that. So I like it. I like it as a small. It's like it's a small but significant change.
And I do like to see Helena Bonham Carter because she loves these weird characters. So I love getting to see her do more of them, and she's fantastic.
Just seeing her in a movie immediately makes me think of Halloween.
Sure. Yeah. Why not? We just talked about her in Alice in Wonderland. I believe on a bonus episode where she was
one of the standouts of a movie that was otherwise not super memorable. Yeah, man, there's so many just brutal and out of the blue moments. Like when Justine gets hanged by the mob, every time a mob appears in this movie, they just come out of nowhere. It's like someone yells, all of a sudden 100 people have these sticks. They're all beating on somebody. They descend all at once. They're like piranhas coming out of the freaking water. Like it's crazy how fast it all happens. She gets carried up up these stairs, noose around her neck. She's thrown she drops like 30 fucking feet. Incredibly brutal moment, and she just gets hung. Like it's this movie just goes there. Like it doesn't pull any punches. I had to admire it for that. Like, we're just gonna lean into it. This movie is insane, and I kind of love it.
Some of the most insane hanging sequences I've ever seen in a film, like at least 2 or 3, and then and this is kind of within the story, but the disregard for the remains in any capacity, you know what I mean? Just bodies
they really
falling,
leaned into
flopping,
the gross, bloody nature of all this. He's like paying for amniotic fluid at one point, like. It gets really grody. There, the electric eels are so silly, right? Like, I don't know, man. It's so over the top that I kept thinking like it doesn't want you to take it seriously. Like it wants you to have fun with it. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna have fun with it.
I'm pretty good at picking out kind of character actors or actors in general that I know in disguises as, you know, some character. I didn't even realize that John Cleese was Frankenstein's tutor until after
Was
the movie.
that okay? So I thought during that I was like, is that John Cleese? But then I was like, no, it doesn't really look like him. You're saying that is him.
It is him, yeah.
That's
He's
pretty
the
cool.
colleague who shared the interest in life. He's the one who's stabbed and killed by the person who was anti-vax. Oh, I want to talk about the vaccine stuff too.
Yeah, anti-vaxxer.
I like that this is like very pro-vaccine in like
Yeah.
94, obviously. And like it just, every time a subject like this comes up, it just blows my mind that people back then, you know, they're depicting the Victorian era. Yeah. And even today, you still have these dumb motherfuckers who are like, you're not putting that evil in me.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just like seeing that in this movie really cracked me up.
It is one of the best inventions, honestly, of modern times is the invention of the vaccine. Yeah,
It's like as important as like the microprocessor or something. You know what I mean? It's like that.
Yeah.
It keeps people
that
alive.
big.
Like people, you know, lifespans went up by such a massive amount when vaccines became a thing. So yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was incredibly funny to see this fucking.
I'm sure we're changing minds here.
Yes, yeah. Well, everybody who listens to our podcast is already anti-vax, so we're really trying to flip our whole crowd, right? I don't know, man. I don't think many people who are anti-vax listen to the podcast, especially our bonus
man.
episodes.
Let's move on. There's the ice sequence where they like he comes running out and just fucking smashes him, and he goes flying into an ice cave like it's a chute, and he goes sliding down it. And then they have this talk inside the ice cave, and it's just like, I don't know how you can watch this and think like, oh, it's taking itself seriously. Like it's not. It's so over the top and insane. Like I don't know. I don't know at what point Branagh decided that's what this movie was going to be, but clearly to me, this movie is just having fun.
Yeah, I'm with you. And that's what I did. I had fun with this.
Yeah. So yeah, we finished in the North Pole with the captain deciding finally at last that they're going to go home. Because he sort of sees the folly, he sees what Victor Frankenstein has wrought. And, you know, it's very, very heavy-handed interpretation of the themes of the book, right? Like, there's, again, no subtlety. It's all been stripped away, and now it's just very over the top. But, you know, it's in keeping. I think there's enough here to where you can justify calling this Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, even if the tone is just completely different. We just talked about, Arrival with Ted Chiang. And in that episode, we talked about the spirit of an adaptation being very important. And you could argue that the spirit is wrong here, right? Like that something has been dramatically and significantly changed. And yet, I still think this can be a cool adaptation in the sense that it's not trying to be spiritually accurate to the book,
because that makes it a different and like an interesting take, and I appreciate it for that as well. But I think the purists, of course, and you can never please everyone, and especially people who are super fans.
I'm not going to argue with anybody that this is like an actually faithful, in all those ways that we just discussed kind of adaptation. It's not that.
Yeah, if someone worships Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, they're gonna see this as an abomination. They are. Sure. But if you're the kind of viewer or the kind of like consumer of art or media that likes to see a new interpretation or likes to see people take a chance on something, which we tend to be, then I think there's something here for sure, and it's worth watching.
Well, it's that separation thing we always talk about, where like we can separate this movie from its source and say the source is untouchable, right? It's a legendary piece of fiction. It is the first science fiction novel. It was just, it's unbelievable that novel exists and that Mary Shelley wrote it when she was basically 18 years old. It's insane. And she still to this day does not get enough credit for what she did with that book. And if you want to look at it in that light, then sure, this movie isn't good. But as just a separate thing that exists that Kenneth Branagh made in the 90s with an insane cast, and it's batshit and over the top and super fun, I think you could still enjoy this movie because I did. I can still recognize all of that being true about Mary Shelley and feeling like maybe there is an adaptation that has yet to be made that could truly do it justice and that would please fans of the book in a way that we're talking about. But it's hard because the story, I think Kenneth Branagh kind of realized it's a little heavy metal at times. It's a little insane at times. And he leaned into those aspects of it. And I don't know. I just think this is a very fun movie that I'm definitely going to be wanting to show people sooner rather than later.
Well, and it gets me really excited for Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein that has wrapped principal photography. Just wrapped principal photography. So I cannot wait to see what that interpretation looks like and how
we might have to do a main feed on that one.
Yeah, we might.
Well, I think that's going to be about it for this version of Frankenstein, for this coverage. What a fun one though. I'm so glad we finally got to do it. It's I don't know why, like I was putting it off. I didn't think I was going to like this thing. I thought it was going to be kind of a chore, like sometimes happens with these alternate adaptations. But damned if I didn't have a good time with this thing.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm willing to see all of the like weird stitchings that make this film what it is and like this weird interpretation. But ultimately, really enjoyable as like just a totally random version of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
If you haven't seen it, we recommend it. If that's not clear, I recommend it. Check it out. It's very interesting at the very least.
Yeah, I would show this to people, and I'm happy that I've seen it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, and until next time,
keep adapting.